بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah ala ni'mat al-Islami wa sunnah. All praise and thanks belong to Allah for guiding us to Islam and for guiding us to the sunnah. We continue going over the tremendous book by the Fadilatul Shaykh Al-Allama Imam bin Baz rahimahullahu ta'ala. The book which is entitled Durus al-Muhimma li'amat al-Ummah, important lessons for the general masses of the Ummah. Naam. These lessons are important because they are for every Muslim. Every Muslim has to know the reality of the things in which Imam bin Baz rahimahullahu ta'ala he mentions here in this tremendous book. So it is incumbent that we spend some of our time learning, especially during these days, during these 10 days, as these are the best days of the year, that we spend some time doing those righteous good deeds, that we spend some time studying from the Qur'an and studying from the Sunnah so as to gain understanding of the religion. As the deeds during these days, they are multiplied. Naam, as the deeds during these days, they are more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the deeds done outside of these days. So from these deeds in which that we could be doing, then it is seeking knowledge and seeking to gain understanding of the religion. Imam bin Baz rahimahullahu ta'ala, he says, لِقَوْلِ النَّبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم, and remember we're speaking about minor shirk, the affair of minor shirk. Imam bin Baz rahmatullah alayhi, he says, لِقَوْلِ النَّبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم أَخْوَفُ مَا أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ الشِّرْكُ الْأَصْغَرُ. The statement, due to the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said that what I am most afraid for you, then it is the minor shirk. It is the minor shirk al-asghar. فَسُئِلَ عَنْهُ. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was asked about shirk al-asghar. What is shirk al-asghar? To which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, ar-riya, showing off. Ar-riya, showing off. Rawahu Ahmad, Imam bin Baz mentions, Rawahu Ahmad wa Tabarani wal Bayhaqi. That has been collected by Ahmad, by Tabarani, and by Al Bayhaqi. An Mahmud bin Labid Al Ansari, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, bi isnadin jayyid, with a good chain. ورواه الطبراني بأسانيد جيدة, and At-Tabarani, he also brings it with good chains, numerous chains that are good. عن محمود بن لبيد عن رافع بن خديج عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. نعم, عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Imam bin Baz rahmatullah alayhi, he mentions that هذا الدليل الأول يتعلق بالرياء في بعض العمل. He says that this first hadith that's mentioned here, that it is connected and is speaking about riya in some of the action. نعم. والمراد بقوله الرياء أي يسير الرياء and what is intended by the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, riya, then this means a little riya, or the small or the slight showing off. Now, the slight showing off, meaning that an individual shows off in some of the worship, but not in the totality of the worship. It means that an individual shows off in that which comes after the worship has been initially built, meaning that the worship itself is not built, is not initiated from showing off, but that showing off will enter into it. So a person, he starts the worship for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but then throughout the course of that worship, they do things to show off. For example, a person, they stand to pray. They stand to pray, and they stand to pray sincerely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, throughout the duration of that prayer, they start to beautify their voices in a way so as to show off. So they beautify their recitation so as to show off. This is the type of riya that is spoken about here. Or a person that will lengthen their prayer to show off. So of course, that lengthening of the prayer, that in which the riya enters into it, it is rejected. It doesn't count. However, this will be from the small shirk. This will be from shirk al-asghar, because the individual, they began the act of worship for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then certain aspects of the worship, riya, entered into it. And this is what is meant by بالرياء في بعض العمل, riya in some of the action. Riya in some of the action. So riya in some of the action, then this is from shirk al-asghar. This is from small shirk. وَأَمَّا خَالِص الرِّيَاء, but pure riya, riya showing off in 100% of the action, that a person shows off from beginning to end. They build the action itself on showing off. They build the action itself on showing off. This type of riya, pure showing off, then this is from shirk al-akbar. This is from major shirk that will remove a person from the religion. أما خالص الرياء فمن شرك الأكبر الناقل من الملة. That the pure riya, then this is from shirk al-akbar, this is from major shirk that will remove a person from the religion. وقال رحمه الله تعالى, and Imam bin Baz رحمه الله تعالى, he goes on and he says, وقوله, and his statement, من حلف, نعم, معذرة, believe I said Imam bin Baz, as relates to the aforementioned, the aforementioned statement, وهذا الدليل الأول يتعلق to the end of the statement. This is actually the statement of the فضيلة Sheikh Abdul Razak bin Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Badr حفظهم الله تعالى. نعم, the Sharih, the explainer of the book, whereas the author of the book is Imam bin Baz rahmatullah alayh. So Imam bin Baz, back to the text of the book, he mentions, he says, وقوله, and his statement, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, من حلف بشيء دون الله فقد أشرك. رواه إمام أحمد بإسناد صحيح عن عمر بن خطاب رضي الله تعالى عنه. ورواه أبو داود والترمذي بإسناد صحيح من حديث ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: من حلف بغير الله فقد كفر أو أشرك. نعم, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, whoever swears by other than Allah, نعم, من حلف بشيء دون الله, whoever swears by other than Allah, فقد أشرك, then verily they have made shirk, they have committed shirk. And this hadith has been collected by Imam Ahmed with an authentic chain from the hadith of Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And is also collected by Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi with an authentic chain from the hadith of Ibn Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, whoever swears by other than Allah, then verily they have committed disbelief and they have committed shirk. They have committed disbelief and they have committed shirk. وقال الشيخ عبد الرزاق حفظه الله تعالى, he mentions, he says, وهذا يتعلق بالأمر الثاني وهو الحلف بغير الله. He said, and this is connected to the second affair, and that is swearing by other than Allah. فقد جاء عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في ذلك أحاديث, and there comes in this topic from the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم a number of hadith. ذكر منها رحمه الله تعالى هذين الحديثين, and Imam bin Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned from these hadith, from these hadith, number of hadith that are mentioned as relates to this particular topic, he mentioned these two hadith. وقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من حلف بشيء, whoever swears by anything, بشيء, شيء nakira is the word shay. It comes in an indefinite form. في السياق شرط, in a conditional construct, in a conditional context. In a conditional context. فَتُفِيدُ الْعُمُومِ. So whenever you have something that is general and it comes in a context that is conditional, right, then what you understand from this is a generality. You understand from this a generality. فَيَدْخُلُ تَحْتَ الْقَوْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. So what is entered into and covered by the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, anything, then this means the angels. So the angels likewise, if a person were to swear by an angel, then they would have made shirk. That person, they would have made shirk. Likewise, what is covered by the statement shay, anything, is or are the anbiya, the prophets. So if a person swears by a prophet, if a person swears by a prophet, regardless of who the prophet is, whether that is the prophet Adam, alayhi salatu wassalam, or it is the prophet Idris, alayhi salatu wassalam, or it is the prophet Nuh, alayhi salatu wassalam, or it is the prophet Isa, alayhi salatu wassalam, or the prophet Muhammad, alayhi salatu wassalam. If anyone swears by a prophet, then they would have made shirk. And this is covered by the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, shay. Man halafa bi shay'in. Whoever swears by anything. By anything. So what enters into anything is anything. The Shaykh, he mentions, he says, wal Kaaba. Also the Kaaba. If a person swears by the Kaaba, then this is shirk. They would have made shirk. Likewise, wal awliya, if a person swears by the righteous ones, be it from the ulama, be it from the avid worshippers, so on and so forth, if they swear by a righteous individual from the awliya, then they would have made shirk. They would have associated partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وغير ذلك, and other than that. Because when you have something that is indefinite and is mentioned in a context that is a conditional context, then what is understood from that is a generality. So when it said, man halafa bi shay'in, whoever swears by anything, regardless of what that thing is, anything other than Allah, then they have made shirk. Period. There's no exceptions. There are no exceptions. على كل حال, الشيخ عبد الرزاق حفظه الله تعالى goes on and he says, وقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم من حلف بغير الله فقد كفر أو أشرك. Whoever swears by other than Allah, then verily they would have disbelieved and they would have made shirk. يحتمل أن يكون شكا من الراوي. It could be understood that this was due to doubt from the narrator. So he says, whoever swears by other than Allah, then they would have made disbelief or they would have made shirk. So it could be understood that this was doubt. He didn't know whether it was the narrator didn't know whether it was said kafara or ashraka. So he said it was either disbelief or they make shirk. Also, ويحتمل أن تكون أو بمعنى واو. And it also could be understood that أو in this sentence, that أو here in this context, it doesn't mean or, but it means wow. So it means and. Doesn't mean or, but it means and. Because sometimes in the Arabic language you have this example where أو will come and what it means is and. It doesn't mean this or that. It means this and that. Naam. So it can also be understood that it means here and. That whoever swears by other than Allah, then verily they would have disbelieved and made shirk and committed an act of polytheism. Right? ويكون الكفر الذي هو دون الكفر. And if it comes with this meaning, then it will be a kufr that is duna kufr. So meaning kufr al-asghar. It will be the small or minor kufr. Naam, it will be minor kufr. الذي هو دون الكفر الأكبر. That minor kufr which is less than kufr akbar. Because major kufr removes a person from the religion. Minor kufr, a person has fallen into kufr, they have done an act of kufr, but it doesn't take them outside of the religion, right? To the end of it, okay? كما هو الشرك الأصغر. Just like it is shirk al-asghar, meaning that a person swears but other than Allah, then this is shirk al-asghar. This is shirk al-asghar. Naam. Illa, except, okay? So it's important to understand that if a person swears by other than Allah, this is shirk al-asghar, unless it reaches a level, right? Because remember, shirk al-asghar is a roadway to shirk al-akbar. Just like kufr al-asghar is a roadway to kufr al-akbar. Okay? Minor shirk is a means and a pathway to major shirk. Minor kufr is a mean and a pathway to major kufr. So, swearing by other than Allah, it could reach the extent where it changes from minor shirk to major shirk. The Shaykh, he says, إِلَّا إِذَا بَلَغَ حَالِفُ بِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ مِنَ التَّعْظِيمِ للمحلوف به واعتقاد فيه ما لا يكون إلا لله سبحانه وتعالى فيكون من الشرك الأكبر الناقل من الملة. Unless, so if a person swears by other than Allah, then this is minor shirk, right? Unless it has reached the level that the person who is swearing by other than Allah, he has a veneration for that which he is swearing by, and he has an erroneous belief attached to that individual as relates to things that are particular to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as relates to that which only belongs unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a person has this belief, this level of belief in the thing in which he is swearing by other than Allah, that has reached such an extent that he believes and he has given things that are particular to Allah to this particular individual, then at that point, swearing in this case, then it will be major shirk, the type that will remove an individual from the religion. Now, the type that will remove an individual from the religion. And this here is the problem, is that you find from the worshippers of the grave, from those who worship those who are dead inside the grave, is that you have from them those who they have reached this level. They have reached this level of veneration. They have reached this level of having beliefs in those that they're swearing by, these dead saints and so on and so forth, to the extent that they attribute to them attributes that are specific and particular unto Allah, and only Allah has them. So they attribute, for example, to the likes of these ones who are dead in the grave, that they know the unseen. They have a secret fear as relates to these individuals, fearing that these ones who are dead in their grave could affect them in some which way or form. Those who are dead in their grave, they know what is going on. When they're alone, by themselves, or so on and so forth, they have this level of secret fear for these type of individuals. And then a person swears by that individual who has that belief, then that is shirk akbar. That is major shirk. Naam, that is major shirk. But if when one sits back and they reflect on this, you will realize that you will not get to this extent except that you had previously began with the minor shirk by believing that there was no contradiction to the kalima of La ilaha illallah when you swore by the likes of these individuals. Naam. So these Sufiya who will come and try to teach the people that it is okay to swear by Sheikh so-and-so who's dead in his grave, Wali so-and-so, such and such, so on and so forth, they are opening up the Muslims to a road that could potentially destroy them ultimately. They are opening up to a road that could potentially lead to them leaving Islam. Now, that can lead to them leaving Islam. Imam al-Shawkani, rahimahullah ta'ala, he brings some examples of some of these individuals who have gone far beyond, as relates to their veneration for these ones who are dead in the grave. And Shaykh Abdul Razak, he mentions, he says, وقال الشوكاني رحمه الله وقد توارد إلينا من الأخبار ما يشك معه أن كثيرا من هؤلاء القبوريين أو أكثرهم إذا توجهت عليه يمين من جهة خصمه حلف بالله فاجرا، فإذا قيل له بعد ذلك احلف بشيخك والمعتقدك الولي الفلاني تلعثم وتلكأ وأبى واعترف بالحق. الله المستعان. الله المستعان. وهذا من أبين، قال الشيخ الشوكاني، هو قال وهذا من أبين الأدلة على أن شركهم قد بلغ فوق الشرك، يعني من قال أنه تعالى ثاني اثنين أو ثالث ثلاثة. نعم، والله المستعان، والله المستعان. He mentions, Imam al-Shawkani, he says, and there has come to us narrations, and I want you to pay very close attention as it relates to this scenario the Shaykh is mentioning, these narrations, naam, and contemplate when Imam al-Shawkani lived, naam, and it happened in his time, and it's happened now, all these hundreds of years later. Imam al-Shawkani, he mentions, there has reached us different narrations. They had reached us different narrations, of which there is no doubt that the vast majority, from those who are worshippers of the grave, or that a lot of them, or the vast majority of them, that those who are worshippers of the grave, that if they swear by Allah as relates to a person in which they have a disagreement with, right? That an individual in which they have a disagreement with, and they're arguing over certain facts and so on and so forth, that they will swear by Allah to a lie. They will swear by Allah to a lie, and they're lying, right? And this becomes apparent when it is said to them, after they have sworn by Allah to such and such a fact, then it is said to them, individuals will say to them, swear by your sheikh. That same thing you just swore to by Allah, swear to it by your sheikh and the one who you believe in, this wali so-and-so. Swear to the same thing. Imam al-Shawkani, he said, you will see at that point that the person now, they will pause, they'll stop, their face start to turn red, they start to change colors, and then they will refuse. They will refuse, and then they will acknowledge what the truth is. They will refuse and they will acknowledge, okay, yeah, that was wrong. Really, it's like this. and contradict themselves, right? The Shaykh, he says, and this is from the greatest proofs. This is from the greatest proofs that their shirk has reached a level that it is greater than the shirk of those people who say and who have the shirk of saying that Allah is one of two, or that Allah is one of three. Now, that their shirk has reached a level of shirk that is greater than that of the Christians. It's greater than that who believe in the Trinity, and so on and so forth. Why? Because even those who believe in the Trinity, now you will find those avid believers from those who believe in the Trinity, they won't lie. They won't lie and swear upon Allah to a lie. You understand? They won't swear upon Allah to a lie. But you find these individuals, they will swear upon Allah to a lie, but then will refuse to swear upon their sheikh to a lie. Wa'iyadu billah. So that shows that that their veneration, that they venerate their sheikh, they have more respect for their sheikh, they have a greater fear for their sheikh than they do Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, so this is undoubtedly shirk al-akbar. This is major shirk. It's not minor. This is major shirk. Major shirk. Now, the Shaykh, he mentions, the Shaykh Abdul Razak, he says, وَقَرَأْتُ في أحد الكتب, he said, I read in a book, يعني نقل مصنفه عن بعد هؤلاء تعظيما لأولياء أشد من تعظيم الله عز وجل. He said that, and he brought some narrations on how the glorification of these individuals for their awliya, for their saints, is even stronger and even greater than their glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أن أحدهم طلب منه الحلف, that one of them, they were asked to swear. They were asked to swear to a particular point. He was asked to swear by one of the awliya. This particular point. Okay, swear on your wali to this point. نعم بأحد الأولياء المزعومين فتغير وجه المحلوف له وأنكر على الحالف قائلا أليس الشيخ عالما بما يجري الآن بيننا. فقال الراوي ظننت أن الأول أن لأول السامع إنكار أنه ينهاه عن الحلف بالمخلوق، وإذا هو يكبره عن الحلف به ويشركه مع الله عز وجل في غيبه. The Shaykh, he mentions, he brings this quote here. He says that one of them was asked to swear by their saint to a particular fact, to a particular point, right? And the one who was asked to swear by his saint, he refused. He refused to swear by his saint. And he mentioned to him, he said, doesn't the Shaykh already know what's going on between us? Doesn't the Shaykh already know what's going on between us? In other words, swear by him for what? Swear, for what? He already knows. Does he already know what's going on between us? So the person who was narrating this, he said, at first I thought that he was denying or not denying, but I thought that he was rejecting the fact of swearing by a created thing, that he was disapproving that he should swear by a created thing, right? He said at first, this is what I thought. When he refused, he said, I thought that this is what it was, that he was actually denying or rejecting the legitimacy of swearing by something that is created. He said, but rather, that was not the case, meaning he was mistaken. That was not the case. It wasn't that he was denying or rejecting the legitimacy of swearing by a created thing, but rather, it was that he had glorified his sheikh above swearing in his name for this particular thing. Meaning, the sheikh is too great for me to swear by him for this. I'm going to swear by the sheikh for this thing. The sheikh is greater than that. The sheikh already knows what's going on between us. He's more greater than me going to swear to him by way of him for this particular thing. And you find that this individual, they have committed shirk with Allah Azza wa Jal because they had associated to his particular sheikh that he knows the unseen. That he knows the unseen. Mind you, the sheikh is not there, he's dead, he's in his grave. And he's saying that the sheikh already know what's going on right here. Why am I swear to him for? For what? Like, he's bigger than that. Subhanallah. They're attributing attributes to their mashayikh, to their awliya, that only belonging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So bila shak bila rayb, when it has reached this level of veneration, when it has reached this level of glorification for their awliya, for their saints, so on and so forth, and they swear by their saints in these type of situations, then beyond the shadow of a doubt, these individuals have fallen into major shirk, not minor shirk, major shirk, the type of shirk that will take you out of the religion, the type of shirk that makes a Muslim a kafir, the type of shirk that if a person they meet Allah with the level of that major shirk, khalas, that's it. Allah Ta'ala does not forgive major shirk. Allah Ta'ala, He does not forgive major shirk. Naam. Shaykh Abdul Razak, he says, فانظر هذا الشرك ما أشنعه. He said, look at this level of shirk. How despicable is this? How repugnant is this? نعم. فلم تعد القضية من الشرك الأصغر. He said the shirk of this level. He said then this is not an issue of minor shirk. Shirk like this is not an issue of minor shirk. بل أصبح هذا عقيدة في الولي أنه يعلم أحوال العباد. He said, but rather the belief that they have in this saint has reached the level that they believe that this saint knows what are the interactions of the slaves, what are the situations of the slaves, that the sheikh knows what the slaves are doing and what's happening to them, and so on and so forth. It has reached this level. وَيَعْلَمُ الْكَاذِبْ مِنَ الصَّادِقِ, and that the sheikh, he knows the one who is telling the truth from the one who is lying. That the sheikh, he knows who's telling the truth from the one who is lying. نعم. والمحق من المبطل, the one who is correct from the one who is incorrect, right? The one who is valid from the one who is invalid, so on and so forth, right? The one who's upon the haqq from the one who's upon falsehood. That the sheikh just he knows the unseen, he knows these things, and the like. Then bila shakku bila rayb, these individuals, they have made their mashayikh, they have made their awliya as rivals with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have associated partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by giving unto their awliya those things that are particular to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, bila shak wa bila rayb, this is shirk al-akbar. This is major shirk. Ta'ala Allah amma yushrikun. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is far above. He is far greater than that which they associate with Him, Azza wa Jal. And then the Shaykh goes on, he mentions the statement of Imam bin Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala, وقال rahimahullah ta'ala, Imam bin Baz, rahmatullah alayhi, he said, وقوله, in his statement, لا تقولوا ما شاء الله وشاء فلان ولكن قولوا ما شاء الله ثم شاء فلان. أخرجه أبو داود بإسناد صحيح عن حذيفة بن يمان رضي الله تعالى عنه. He said, and the statement, remember Shaykh bin Baz, he's bringing, after mentioning the minor shirk and that, he brings some examples. Likewise, the statement, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, and do not say, it is as Allah wills and as you willed. It is as Allah and you willed. Now, don't say that. But rather say, it is as Allah willed, then you. It is as Allah willed, then you. In this narration, this hadith has been collected by Abu Dawood with a chain that is authentic from the hadith of Hudhayfa bin Yaman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Shaykh Abdul Razak, حفظه ta'ala, he mentions, وهذا يتعلق بالأمر الثالث وهو القول ما شاء الله وشاء فلان. He said, and this is linked to the third affair, and that is the statement, as Allah wills and you will, or so-and-so, as Allah willed and as so-and-so willed. Or, so it can be better understood as Allah and so-and-so willed. As Allah and so-and-so willed. Naam. قال, he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لا تقولوا ما شاء الله وشاء فلان. Do not say it is as Allah and so-and-so willed. ولكن قولوا, but rather say it is as ما شاء الله ثم شاء فلان. It is as Allah willed and then as so-and-so willed. Why? لأن ثم لأن ثمة فرقا بين العطف بالواو والعطف بالثم, because there is a big difference between using well and using thumma, then. There's a big difference in the Arabic language, right? Because well, when you say and, right, or well in the Arabic language, tafidu mutlaqa al-tasawi, then this means a general of bringing things equal, that both things mentioned on the exact same level. So when you say well, right, this means that both things that are mentioned are on the exact same level, right? As opposed to thumma, when you say thumma, then thumma tafidu al-muhla wa tarahi. Then thumma, you understand from it, the word thumma, that there is a time frame between and there is a sequence in action. So there is a time frame in between and the actions are sequential, meaning one comes first and another one comes second. One is primary and the other one follows, so on and so forth. Now, this is what's understood by thumma. نعم وأن المعطوف دون المعطوف, and that the one, I don't even know how to translate that, but long story short, that the two parties mentioned are not the same. The two parties mentioned are not the same, and that the second thing mentioned is less than the first thing that was mentioned. Now, the second thing mentioned is less than the first thing that was mentioned. So when you say masha'Allah thumma sha'a fulan, then there are a number of things understood. One is that the will of Allah comes first. The will of Allah comes first, right? That nothing can supersede Allah Ta'ala's will. And if Allah Ta'ala did not will it, it wouldn't have happened, regardless of who wanted whatever. If Allah did not will it, it would not have happened. Right? And also that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, he is the greatest one, Allahu Akbar, and that whoever else is mentioned, and then so-and-so, that so-and-so is less. So-and-so is nothing. Naam, so-and-so is nothing. But this is what understood when you say thumma, that it is as Allah will, then so-and-so. Because understood, if Allah didn't will it, it doesn't matter what so-and-so wanted. It wasn't going to happen. Masha Allah can, or ma lam yasha lam yakun. Whatever Allah wills is, whatever He does not will, then it's not going to happen. Now, and you understand that fulan, then they're less. They're less. And that they were just what? They were just a tool. They were just a tool. They were just from the asbab. They were from the causes for such and such to come into fruition, but they were not the reason, or they were not the source by way in which it came into fruition, right? If that makes sense, that they were just a means towards the end, but they were not the deciding factor. But it is what it is as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills, and that is the difference between well and between thumma. So this is why in that statement that as Allah and so will is not permissible, because they are saying that Allah and whoever else is mentioned are exactly on the same level, and the like. And we know this is the epitome of falsehood and of foolishness. And then Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, he gets into the next topic as relates to Shirk al-Asghar and some of the identifying factors and some of the ways in which Shirk al-Asghar differs from Shirk al-Akbar. Naam. Before getting into the Nur al-Thalith, before getting into the third type and category of Shirk. But bi'ithnillahi ta'ala, we will save those discussions until the next class on this particular topic and going over this particular book. فنكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وجزاكم الله خيرا.